Hey, Pascal. Oh,
We're live.
Hi.
We are live.
hey, Pascal, Krisha, and Leo. I'm so happy to be talking to you today. For those of you who don't know me and you're listening, my name is Kim Addis, and I'm the president of a company called Frame of Mind Coaching. And we coach leaders, executives from all over the world. And what I'm really interested in is really paying attention to how leaders think and how their thinking impacts their outcomes. So I love the fact that, Pascal, you've been willing to come on to this LinkedIn Live episode and share some of your challenges. What's going on?
Mm-hmm. Uh, Challenges. Um, hiring. Hiring
Hiring?
is a big issue. Reliability. Oh yeah. Then finding enough work on time for the people that I hired. Um, then dealing with the massive amount of cash that people want to pay. That's I would say almost a problem in construction. Um,
What do you mean by dealing with a massive amount of cash that people want to pay?
a lot of people pay
Everyone wants to
cash.
pay cash.
Oh, I see. So the cash instead of like a check or a Visa or something like that.
Yeah,
Okay. And why is that a
uh,
problem?
you have to do something with that cash.
Okay.
Uh,
So in other words, you need to put it somewhere.
Eventually, yeah. Um, I have a customer. I think the job's gonna end at 70,000, and he wants to pay 100% cash. So that's
Sorry,
consider
you cut off.
$22,000. I have to. The day that I have to buy the cabinets, and they're $22,000. I have to physically go there with $22,000 and give it to the clerks.
So you're saying
As
walking
opposed to
around with
paying
all
with
this
credit
cash
card.
is a problem?
Okay.
Are you saying that walking around with all this cash is a problem?
No, I think what he's trying to say is the reason why people want to pay cash is to hide stuff from the government,
Yes, I
not to pay
understand.
taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying when you
Yeah.
ask for
And
a clean and clear, so you're saying people aren't willing to pay taxes, so you feel like you're forced to accept cash.
if it's a deal breaker, yeah, because some people they have a limited budget, and especially now that the supply is really high, they are short on money to pay everything, especially the HST, because the HST is not going to do anything for them. It's only money out of their pocket, and if they can, they won't pay it. So I try to mitigate the amount that they give me, but sometimes it's a deal breaker. It's you take it or you leave it.
And do you claim the cash contracts that you get, or are you hiding it too?
I have at some point I have to claim a portion.
Okay. So you mentioned a lot of things. You mentioned that what's difficult is hiring, then reliability,
Yeah,
then finding enough work on time, and then taking cash payments on an ongoing basis and dealing with, really, it's a tax problem.
yeah.
What's
There's
what's
also
the
plenty
hardest? What,
other.
plenty other challenges. What's the number one challenge that you think you're facing?
I would say expanding right now, finding enough work on time. Um, Sometimes you can plan. So let's say you speak with someone in March or April, and they say, okay, end of May, we're gonna start that date. But then a couple of weeks later, they change the date. They,
Okay.
We want to remove a wall. It's a load-bearing wall. There is pipes and drains and vents and a bunch of other things, and they're just not willing to pay for the cost of moving all that. So at this point, they want to brainstorm a little more on it. So it delays, it delays, it delays, and the day that they want you to start, you found something else. So it's
Got it.
you're always like jungling with everything.
Yeah. Kind of curious. Hi, Sherry. Welcome.
Hi, thank
Hi,
you.
Sherry.
Hi, everyone.
I'm just kind of curious about how you currently get clients right now. Like, what's your process?
OwnStar. There's another one called Smart Reno. I get referrals. Um, yeah,
And
that's
what's
pretty much.
like? Are you satisfied with your leads? Like I'm asking about your pipeline. Are you satisfied with your pipeline?
It could be better.
Yeah.
Always.
So
So you can
sorry, there's a delay when you speak.
20 people. Uh, you can get maybe 20 leads. Maybe only 12 of them are going to answer the phone. Even if I call and leave emails and text messages, uh, then then out of these 12 people, I might have 5 appointments because the other ones they just have they don't have the budget. Out of these 5 people, I might get 1 or 2.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you something. When you talk about expansion, when we talk about doing anything, right? A lot of times we think, well, we need to be doing something differently. We need to be applying a different strategy or behavior or anything like that. And my experience working with leaders is that before we change anything we do, before we change the action that we take, it's very important for us to really look at the thinking behind the action, right? So you have all kinds of moving parts, and you have a process where you're giving someone a quote, they want to pay in cash. That makes you have to take a tax hit because your price is the price, and you thought about it as adding a tax rate on it, and then they're not paying it. So that's a problem for you. And there's also an integrity issue, right? In terms of how you run your business with respect to being a Canadian business owner and paying your taxes. There's all kinds of moving parts. But what I'm really hearing you say is I need to hire people, but then when I hire them, I need to find enough business for them. And then when I find enough business for them, people change their minds. And what I'm really hearing is that what you have is a problem with your pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it boils down to. And so when we try to fix all these other parts, there's a trickle down effect. And we really need to find the source of the problem. And the question is, how do we think about our pipeline? So you did the math very well. I get 20 leads. Maybe I get 12 of them on the phone. I have 5 appointments and then I close 1 or 2 of them. And that's not bad, right? Like that's like about a 5%, 10% close ratio. That's not terrible. But now, so the question is, how do you increase that volume so that you don't have a hiring problem? So that when people are, not reliable, it's because they're not depending on you for work. It's hard for them to be reliable if they don't have consistent work. And so my question for you is, how do you think about lead generation? I'm hearing that it's a bit passive.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm kind of curious to know, like, let's say in the past 2 years, how many contracts have you had?
I don't know.
Yes. 1, 2,
Yes.
10, 15, 85? How many?
25, maybe 30.
And okay, 25, 30. Let's call it 30 because 30 is a good round number. How many of those 30 went really, really well?
7.
7. Why did only 7 go really, really well?
we had enough budget for everything, then I would say that the customer did not change a lot of things. There was not too many problems on every single one of them. And yeah, it was just we would go there, we would do the job, order the supply. It was pretty
Okay.
straightforward.
Okay, so let's go back to the other 23 that didn't go well. Why didn't they go well?
People change their mind often about a lot of different things. Plus, the some of them, they were out of the city, so getting the supply was a little difficult. Then at some point they just decide to not pay more. So let's say that and you talk and they just it's a conflict. They don't want to pay more,
Okay.
or
Okay.
they can't pay more.
Okay. So it's fun to me. I'm going to stop you
Then
for
what
a
else?
minute. I'm going to stop you for a minute. Okay. So it's interesting when we first got on the first, I asked you, what are your challenges? And you said hiring, finding reliable people,
Mhm.
kind of making sure you're having enough people with the right projects. And then you described like basically people are paying cash and that's a problem.
Yeah, there's also reliability issue in the sense that sometimes subcontractors tells you they come the next day, they don't. Or so 2 weeks ago, I called my electrician. I said next Tuesday, which was the Tuesday of this week, I have a job for you. It shouldn't take more than a day. And then the last Monday, he called me and he said, I have to postpone to Wednesday afternoon because it was raining and
Right.
he was doing some outside work. Really get out of it. So he had to postpone my job. So that's
Okay.
an example.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's just things that are all out of control. 27
Okay.
instruction. So that's a lot of people to
Move
organized.
around. Yeah. Okay. So here's what I want to say is that I see that the source of your problem is really the customer experience. And I'll explain to you why. Because I think that you're not setting out clear expectations for your clients. They don't know what to expect. They don't understand the process. And you're not factoring in all the times that they change their mind, because that's what clients do. You're not building it into the process, and you're making that an issue of contention instead of an issue of pleasure or the benefit that comes when they get to work with Pascal. Right? So you're taking a cost hit and they're taking a cost hit too, because surprise, now you have more expenses. And so your client experience is not perfect. And when you want to increase your client base, if you want to increase your pipeline, we always want to go back to your existing clients who are super happy with you, who are standing on the rooftops and talking about you and asking them for more referrals. And that's not happening right now. So you're trying to fix the end of the problem, the back of the train, when really we have to fix the front of the train. And the front of the train for you right now is you're not delivering an extraordinary experience for your clients. And if we're only having 7 great experiences out of 30, that's a very low ratio. And so what you need to do is really look at, how do I dramatically improve the client experience in ways that I can control? So I can't control the rain and I can't control some of my contractors, but I can control the way I communicate with my clients. And right now I'm not communicating very well because they're expecting X and I'm delivering Y. And so once you fix this part of the equation, once you fix this part, and it may be to add a little bit of a buffer, right? For taxes. It might be to add a bit of a buffer for them changing their mind, but also to really outline, we accept 5 changes. After this, here's the cost. And we're going to track everything. So everything's crystal clear. Everything's above board. Everything's very, very straightforward. There's nothing under the carpet that we're trying to figure out. Right? And so what your job is, before you try to maneuver all the other pieces, is really ask yourself, how do I get that number from a 7, right? 7 out of 30 to a 29 out of 30. Right? How do I have most of my clients who are extremely happy with me? What could my approach be? And that's the thinking that needs to shift for you.
But they were happy. All 30 of them were happy. When you asked me, it was more on my hand how much profit I made, and then the timeline, because let's say I plan a 9 hours job, whatever, framing. I'm probably going to put 12. But then if it takes 15 for whatever reason, I'm taking a 3 hours hit.
Yep.
Right?
But yes. And that's happening 23 out of 30 times.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different things. Like 7 of these jobs, I made profit. It went really well, no problems, and we were budget, and it was within the timeline. So that's
I understand.
what I called.
So to me, so thank you for clarifying that. So there's 2 things now. If you have 30 clients who are super happy, then you need to go back to those 30 clients and really, really build the relationship with them so that they're bringing you a greater pipeline than currently what you're getting. Right? Because that, at the end of the day, when your pipeline is larger, you have a flow of clients and you don't have any down periods. When you have no down periods, you always have work for your people and their level of reliability is higher. But just to go back also, so that's part A, is to develop these relationships. So if you've had 30 clients over the past 2 years, have you been in touch with these people?
Yeah.
Have you connected?
There's a few of them that I call pretty often. They're real estate agents. They have different designers and a chunk of them. Them I call them sometime. They don't always have.
Yeah, I mean, and it's about creating a system where you're connecting with all of them on a regular cycle, right? And then the other part of it is that I'm very interested in is the fact that you're taking such a hit. So either we're estimating poorly or we're not factoring something in. So I'd love to kind of send you back to the drawing board and say, okay, so if I'm guessing that a project's going to take, 10 hours, historically, like, are we tracking how long these things take so that we have data to say, yeah, but we know that actually this stuff takes 12 hours or 15 hours and we're billing appropriately?
Yeah, I keep track of
okay.
How much.
So why are you under billing?
6 months ago, because
okay, great. Leo, I'm curious. What do you think?
Everything is
Actually, sorry, Pascal. I would like to interrupt for a second because Sherry is on board and she only had 2 minutes. So maybe we should give Pascal a break. And his internet connection is not great anyways. I would like to introduce Sherry. Sherry runs a cleaning company. She has subcontractors all over Ontario, and she's looking to grow her business. She does very well. She has 2 young kids, and she runs a very successful business with 2 young kids. Sherry, why don't you say hello?
Hi, nice to meet you all. Thank you for having me today.
Nice to meet you too. I can hear you a little bit better. So you run a cleaning company all around where? Toronto, Ontario?
The GTA, but across Ontario for construction cleaning.
Okay, construction cleaning. Okay, and how long have you been in business?
15 years.
Wow, okay, and it's going well.
Very well, yes.
Okay, and what would you say right now is your current challenge? How old are your kids?
My kids are 6 and 8. So,
Okay,
yes, my biggest challenge is doing homeschool and managing everything.
okay.
Um,
And so how have you been doing it?
Well, I do have an office. I have staff there working, so they've really helped, take on parts of my role as well. The kids, yeah, it's busy. It's busy with the school. They're starting camp in the summer, so it'll be time to get right back to business.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you've tapped into the resources that have been helping you.
That's correct. Yes.
Amazing. And so when you think about it sounds like you've been managing fairly well. What's the thing that kind of gets under your skin?
Just not being able to be as involved myself as I normally would, but we have it under control, so that's great. I think that once, things are back to normal and the kids are back to school, that we'll just continue to grow and grow. But we've been able to maintain it throughout. We've actually been pretty fortunate throughout COVID. It's made us extra busy because we're in cleaning.
That is so true.
Sherry, may I throw you under the bus?
Sure. I guess.
Sherry and I have had the ongoing conversation where I keep telling Sherry she's a beautiful girl. She has a online presence that should be catapulting her business. I've been asking for a video a week, eventually to get to a video a day so we can help promote her business. And for some reason, I'm not getting that. Why do you think that is, Sherry?
Again, it's just managing everything. I know a short video seems easy, but for me, it seems to take a long time to produce a video. I got to get in the rhythm and get used to it. Like doing this live, I find great, but making your own videos is a challenge. So I need to keep it on the top of the priority list, but I find them challenging, so I've kind of set it aside.
Okay. Pascal has the same issue. And the funny thing is, they're both great looking people, and yet they're horrible behind the camera. So
I take a lot of videos, but they're all in my phones. Someone has to do some editing on it. I'm looking for someone a subcontractor to take care of all of it.
So is that the only problem, editing?
Yeah.
Okay, so problem solved. I'll give you an editor. Yes. So will I get regular content from both of you then?
You have access to my Google Drive. It's all there.
Sorry, Pascal, we'll get back to you. Sherry?
My challenge is like coming up with content and then also being comfortable and not reading off something when I'm doing the videos. I don't know about Pascal, but for me, I tend to be like writing it out and reading something, so it's just not coming across naturally, as Leo knows. So it's learning to be more comfortable in front of the camera.
So I'll tell you something. I can relate to you completely. I've been asked to do videos where I just talk into a camera. There's nobody there, right? I just talk. And it's hard for me because there's nobody there, right? It's just a little weird, a little not natural. And so what did I do? I created a situation where there's somebody there. It makes it a lot easier for me to talk. And so who did I choose? I happened to choose my daughter. And what she does, I have a podcast and I have 2 kinds of episodes now. Leo was on one of them where I coach somebody live on the show. And the other one is my daughter who brings me problems or cases that I work with. So she comes on the show. She says, okay, here's the person. His name is Mo, and here's his problem. And he's married to a beautiful woman, and he has 3 kids, and his mom is now dating a guy he hates. What do you do? Right? So she gives me the scenario, and I solve the problem, but I'm talking to her. So it's very easy for me to do because it's fun, it's interactive, it's easy. And so what I encourage you to do is think, how can I make this easier? How can I be interactive? How can I be not reading and just talking? How can I be more natural? What can I put in place that would make it easier?
Okay. And Kim, I'd just like to interject here. I hear the views from Sherry and Pascal ever so often from business owners, CEOs. And one of the things that I'd like you to address is some persons have that split view. Will I really get a value from doing a video on LinkedIn? Will it increase my business? So Sherry, Pascal, they're going along, they might be thinking, is it really worth the hassle doing a video? Will I get an increase in clients? Will it really impact my profits, my cash flow? So what has been your experience with that, Kim? Or what would you say to them in that light? Is it really adding value when you bring that video to LinkedIn and other platforms?
Well, you're asking me to answer a strategic question. And my experience is when people get to know you and they really like you and they start to trust you, then the likelihood of them doing business with you is dramatically higher. Then they think of you when they have a need for cleaning, for example. So you're more accessible. So it's not that they're going to hear you and hire you right away, but they're going to hear you and then think of you when the need arises. And so your presence that way does actually end up contributing to the bottom line. But in your case, you have a lot of other things. You're a female business owner. You're scaling your business, and lots of people want to hear about how to scale their businesses. So you can be on many, many podcasts. And I think you probably have a really cool story to tell. So it's not that you need to go on and say, here's the cleaning product, here's how I clean, but this is me, this is who I am, here's my story, here's how I scaled, here's what I believe in, here's how we clean, but that it's really you we're buying. And so I think that could be super interesting.
If I could just add in the few videos that I did send to Leo, we actually had some huge corporations following us and contacting us. So yes, I do. We only did a handful and we had really great responses. Phenomenal, right, Leo?
Very much so.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm encouraging you to do more, because there's a lot more clients out there that should know who you are.
That's right.
Have you done any podcasts, by the way?
Myself, no.
To be on other people's podcasts?
No.
Okay, so I encourage you to do that as well, because it's usually video and audio. You have both.
Yeah.
But what you're also doing is you're leveraging the exposure of the podcast host. So if, let's say, my podcast reaches, I'll pick a number, 10,000 people every time it goes out, right? Now you're leveraging that audience. And so you want to be on as many podcasts as you can possibly be to leverage other people's audiences and to spread your word, your message that way.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Does that make sense?
It does, yes. And it gets you more comfortable in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you want, I can, after this, kind of make a recommendation about how to do that.
Thank you.
So
Kim.
you can reach out to me directly.
Thank you, Kirsha, as well.
You're welcome.
You got to run.
No.
Oh, you're here for a while. Okay, good.
As long as you guys can, yeah.
So
unfortunately, I have to run.
Okay.
I would like Pascal and Sherry to both talk about the franchising they're thinking about doing, and Pascal to talk about the attic insulation company. He hasn't mentioned that, and that's one of the reasons why he's on these podcasts to talk about that, to expand that market share. Take it away, Pascal.
Okay, so we started a few weeks ago promoting the company, and I'm starting to see interest from the people. Just released, the federal government just released incentives and rebates to do insulation. But I would say one of the problem is a lot of contractors are incompetent, and they have a total different. And when I asked them where they found these information. They just say, "Oh, we spoke with a like, yeah, but none of what you said is true. Like these people, they might be cheaper, a few $100s, but they're certainly not going to do the same job. And sometimes I just lose their trust because they think, oh, if three other people said the same thing or something similar, and that guy is saying something different, he must be wrong. So that's one. Then I need a week to keep a crew of 2 guys busy full time. So that's another problem. So right now, whatever installation I have, I do it with my guys. They're not really pleased about it. It's not. It's when you ask a 55 years old framer to go in the attic and crawl. Well, let me just tell you, he's not really happy.
Right.
It's not his line of work at all. But there's I have to time. I can't really hire. I don't know, like people, 2 guys who would be ready full time. So it's really like a roller coaster right now.
Yeah.
I definitely
It
need
sounds like it.
to. Yeah.
So it sounds like what would happen if you had like a bench, right? A bench of people, and that they were on call when you needed
Yep.
them. So you have a whole selection of people that you can choose from, and you pay them on an as needed basis, but they're on your bench.
But who would want to do something like that?
Well, who would want to do something like
People
that?
on the
Somebody,
welfare?
maybe, it doesn't matter. People who want added business and people who want to build a relationship with you where it's a win-win, right? So there are people out there for whom this would be a win-win. And what you're thinking of is nobody would want to do it. And if you're thinking like that, you're not going to find that person.
Can I ask
I
Pascal
just-
Please.
Yep.
we're in similar businesses, Pascal. Do you not find that the subcontractors help you, like, because as long as you just keep them, they have their own work going as well. So
Yeah.
you call them when you need them, right? But they don't expect to have like 40 hours a week work.
Yes, it's a little different. Subcontractors. So have you ever done installation or just
No.
be in an environment of installation that's being installed?
I'm just
It's
thinking, are you working with companies or are you working with just like people who subcontract, like single people, like one person? Because if you work with smaller companies that do the same work you do, then you just call them when you need them on the job, if that helps.
But the thing is, these subcontractors that do installation, they already have all the equipment. Like,
But how many
They literally-
subcontractors do you have on your roster?
a lot. But they're not going to do installation. Like the installation business is kind of a new thing for me. Pain in the ass to do installation. It's itchy. It's 60 degrees in the attic during the summer, so you're just sweating your life. Then you have to crawl. You're constantly in awkward positions, walking on the rafters. You have to be very careful to not go down and break the drywall. And then after, you have to stay clean. You have to vacuum everything and make sure that you didn't break anything in the house. So really, people who are really willing to do something like this, they're gonna want a full-time job. Even I'm gonna pay them well. That's for sure. Like 25, 30, $35 an hour. But finding a subcontractor, I don't see what kind of person would want to do it. Anyone who does that, they have their machine, they have their truck, and let's say that I want $1,800 for the installation, they're gonna want 14 or 15. At the same time, it's not.
If they were maybe a newer company starting off in that industry, I just find that works with us. I work with a lot of newer companies that I help grow that are just getting into the industry. And maybe if you search for some people that specialize in that and that's their company and they're trying to get started in that industry, so you're sourcing them the work and it's your contract, but they're doing the work for you. And you manage the contract, but it's essentially what they do is that type of company that does installation. But obviously a company that's been there for 25 years might even be charging more. So it would have to be newer companies that are smaller that you partner with. I don't like saying the word subcontracting. I like saying partnering. So you partner with these newer companies and you can also teach them to do things the way you like as well. And that way you always have people available because you're working with companies opposed to just subcontractors that work just for themselves, like sole proprietors.
What happened if they cut corners? What happened if they just decide to?
So it would be the same as having employees. Like it's your contract, you're there managing the contract. By no means can they take over anything. It's your contract. They're just providing the work for you. We could talk also, Pascal, on at another time about our businesses. I think we could really help each other because we do very similar type of business.
Okay. Also, I'm just gonna throw one more thing before we wrap up because I think like the audio is very challenging today. So I want this to be the last part of our conversation. But Pascal, you would be very, very surprised to know what a win-win is for some people. So, part of your process is to go in and sit down with either a company or a contractor and say, how do we turn this into a win-win? Here are my needs. What are your needs? And so part of your process is to really understand what you need to have in place in order for them to be a consistent resource for you. So you want to ask that question. What is a win-win? What are your needs? Where could I help you? And here's where you could help me. So that what you're really doing is you're creating a relationship that is beyond just this insulation, right? It's more than that. And that's ultimately what you want to create. And so just asking the question, like, how can I help you grow your business? What is a win-win for you? Asking that question to understand what are your needs? Here are my needs. Let's see if there's a way we could help each other get to a higher level together. So I think that's very important. I mean, in my own experience, I'm launching something new quite recently, and I need people who want flexible hours. I specifically want that. I don't want someone who's, wants to work from 9 to 5. I'm looking for people who want to work after hours and whenever they're able to work. And so that fits a very specific demographic. It's not for everybody. But once, for example, one of the people who I'm working with, she has a son who's special needs and she needs to be with him during the day. So I don't need her to be there from 9 to 5, but I need her to be there whenever she wants to be there. And so for her, this is a win-win. I'm accommodating her and she's working on my behalf. And so I want you to think about what a win-win could be.
In my line of work, these people, they're usually unemployed because drugs, totally unreliable. I've been in this business for 13 years. I've seen a lot of in construction is really it's not as bad as the military. Like military, they go there because they were like, what else am I gonna do?
No, I understand, but there are some people in construction who are good people. There are some people who want to come by this honestly. There are some people where you could partner, and you have to find those some people. And so
Construction is probably
it doesn't serve you, but it doesn't serve you to paint a wide picture that says, you know, it doesn't. If that's your perspective, then why work so hard? Choose a different industry. Right? But this is the industry you've chosen, so you've got to find the gems. But Sherry has to go, and it's so hard for us to hear clearly. So we're gonna wrap it up today. And I've left my email in the chat box. If you want to reach out to me, please do. I'll leave it again.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.